Hello, everybody. How you doing? Hello, Lynda. Hello, Trevor. Welcome. Good to
Hey,
see you
Kathy.
guys.
Good to see you too. We're back 2 weeks in a row.
I know it's a shocker, right? Like, that's awesome. I'm pretty proud of us, to be honest. You know what I'm proud of? It only took me 2 tries to get the live stream going.
Good going. You gotta hit that primer button. It's that primer button, you just gotta keep.
Well, I tell you,
it's like a car that hasn't started for half the winter. It just takes a few cranks. We'll get it going.
That's exactly it. Exactly. How are you guys doing? How you doing? It's good to see you. How you doing, Lynda? How was your week?
Oh gosh, it was a busy week, but it was a good week. I think that's a good thing. Here, it's been kind of weird. Like in Ontario, it's been really cloudy, but then all of a sudden, it's like, what is that bright thing in the sky? So it's been really nice.
Oh, that's where it is. I've been trying to find the one over here. It's been missing for a while. So
you mean that big yellow orb?
Yeah, we got it. We got the yellow orb.
We got the big yellow orb.
Yeah,
must be nice.
It's good. It's good. How about you, Trevor?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm on the mend. I got to leave work a little early the other day. Came down with a little stomach thing, and so yeah, just kind of getting over that. But I've been working on still doing some evidence review from our final case, and going to work on getting that reveal set up with our client. I think we've got some good stuff for her, and some of the stuff that I think I have for her, some things that we're going to be talking about today too. So I'm kind of excited about that because I do have some questions because we have a great topic today. I'm going to let Kathy talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead.
We probably should find out how Kathy's doing first, I suppose.
I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's it was actually a warm week. It wasn't minus 40 degrees Celsius, which made me happy. But yeah, it's we're hoping that maybe we're on our way to some sort. I guess apparently though the gopher, the woodchuck, or whatever he is. I guess he saw your shadow.
Groundhog.
The groundhog. So we've got another 6 weeks to go.
Or weather rat. I don't know. So
the rodent, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Cody just said that too. The furry. What did he say? The furry prognosticator. Is that how?
Prognosticator.
Prognosticator.
Yeah, did reveal an early. So you see, you guys got an early spring. We are not. We are not. Apparently.
Really?
We have another 6 weeks to go. So I don't think that's very fair. I think we should just switch that equator right up and.
Well, I think that furry little rodent's a liar. I don't think we're going to see it early spring.
Yeah, yeah. Well, although Lucy the lobster somewhere in the eastern provinces up here did forecast that there would be 6 more weeks of winter. I didn't know we had a lobster prognosticator, but apparently we do.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that either.
And I don't think lobsters have like the massive lifespan is maybe like a rodent.
That's because they're so delicious. So.
Right? So you got to kind of wonder, how do you know if it's accurate or not? Like from one lobster to the next. I'm sure.
I have no idea.
They have to switch those lobsters out every year, right?
This is a really, really good segue into the topic, right? Because we're talking about prognostication.
There you go. We are going to be talking about psychics and different abilities and just basically the whole topic of them. I know that we've been wanting to talk about it for a while, and I'm looking forward to the show too. I'm going to actually let Trevor ask some questions. I think that's
all right. Well, this is actually something that's fascinated me for a long time. Especially coming from a more scientific perspective of things. I mean, there's kind of this stark separation between spirituality and science, and it's tough because I'm also a very spiritual person. And I definitely believe that people have gifts, different types of gifts, but trying to somehow quantify and measure and determine whether these gifts are actually real is really, really hard. And Kathy kind of said something last week about, the frustration when somebody comes up to her and says, hey, what's going to happen 2 days from now when I go do this? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, so aren't you a psychic?
Or
And,
what's he thinking? Well,
yeah, so there's, and so there's different, apparently, there's different types of psychics out there. And that's kind of what we get into. So Kathy, so you are, what do you call yourself?
I would call myself probably on like an intuitive medium. I've never really like labeled, I guess, to some degree, but I do have the ability to talk to spirits that have passed over. But I'm also so with what I have, I guess the best way to say it is there have most definitely been times where I can see what is going to happen. Like if you ask me about a particular incident or event, right? I can sometimes see the past of that event and sometimes into the future. No, it doesn't mean that every stepping stone is going to be shown. It means like a general outcome of the energy of what I'm receiving. Also, I do have clairaudience, so clairvoyance, like so I hear things a lot. I see things.
Yeah,
like
let's define that first off. So
Mhm.
when we say clairvoyance, what is the definition of clairvoyance?
So clairvoyance is more the ability to, like, I guess, predict. Clairvoyance, you're predicting things. One of the things I'm really good at is if you give me a picture of somebody or you give me even a name, usually I can tell you almost immediately all about their personality. Like it's almost like it's shown to me, like their energy is opened up to me. There are times where I can see medically some of them, but saying that, there is I don't do health diagnosis, right? Like that would be very irresponsible of me. Basically, I won't do anything that you should be going to a professional for, right? Like a professional doctor, a professional lawyer, or something like that. There have been times though where I'm talking to somebody and I'll feel a pain somewhere and I'll be like, oh, okay, something is going on here. And I'll ask them about it. Do you have this? Or has this been bothering you? Or is this been affecting you? I think I did that with your daughter, Lynda, with her leg or something like that. But so I can feel it, or I'm shown it, or I'm shown the body part or whatever it is. And so in that extent, again, I'm not going to diagnose it or anything else, right? But I'm shown that it's in pain or that it needs some sort of attention, maybe. A friend of mine, actually, I kept feeling something about her husband's stomach, and I kept saying, look, again, I'm not a doctor, so don't ask me for doctor stuff. But I kept feeling every time I saw him, I was shown his stomach every single time. And it was almost like like the stomach to me felt hot, or it looked hot. It was a big red ball, like in the stomach area, right? And I brought it up several times, and it turned out that he was actually a few months ago brought in for, what do they call that? Diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis.
Yeah, yeah. And so, it's things like that, right? Again, I can't diagnose what that is. Like, I can't say to you, but if you're showing something, it's like, it might not be a bad idea to go get it checked. It's not going to hurt you to get it checked.
Exactly.
So is that part of so clairvoyance, I think, is when I because I try to study up a little bit today because I didn't want to sound like too much of a moron when I come on, more stuff than usual. But clairvoyance means clear seeing,
Right.
and things to be able, the ability to predict somewhat what is going to happen. Not and you were kind of talking about how nobody ever gets a super clear picture, but you can kind of get
Yeah. And I mean, in
basic
some
idea.
things you can get a super clear picture, right? But it might not be
Yeah.
like every single time, or you might get, it could be half and half,
Mhm.
kind of thing that happens. But I think the main thing is like staying open to the energy and not allowing yourself to be in a place where you start shutting down the energy or being in a place of being scared. And you hear that a lot from people that call themselves empaths. And I mean, we'll hear it from people. I hear it a lot of times. I can't go to the mall because the energy well, to me, that means you're ungrounded. Because they'll be like, "Oh, I can't go because the energies, they overwhelm me and I just blah, blah, blah." And it's like, well, probably your attention seeking for one. But second of all, like, I'm just being straight up, right? But second of all, it means
Yeah.
that you're not grounding yourself. Like, you should be grounding yourself if this is how you're being affected, that your day-to-day life is not yours, no matter um no matter what ability you have, right? So for me as a medium, one of the things that started happening to me when I realized that I was seeing, spirits and being able to communicate with them, um, because that actually really just started happening in the last 10 years or so. I would say 10 to 15 years, and when it first started happening, it was overwhelming. And I would be driving down the street and I would see somebody walking across the street, and I'm apparently the only one seeing this person. So, I'm slamming on my brakes. Or there's a time I remember we were in a store, and we were walking by, like chairs and stuff like that. And I could have sworn that there was somebody standing there, and I said, "Excuse me." And I turned to go around them. My daughter's just like, "What is wrong with you?" you know? But to me, this was real. Like, this was there. And so I realized, okay, this could be very harmful, especially if I'm slamming on my brakes, or if I'm, decide that I'm going to go talk to the air that nobody else can see. I see it, but nobody else is seeing it. So I actually asked my guides, I said, "Can you please look at my head?" So I don't see it with my eyes. I see them in my head. And so if I walk into a place and a spirit is there, that needs to have some attention brought to it, or if I'm doing a medium reading, I'm not seeing them with my eyes. It's not like I'm sitting down and having a coffee with them and, chatting. It's like I will get, the basics of what's coming through. But when I do a reading, and this was, I think, one of the questions that we had talked about: how do you tell a phony or a fake? And for me, if a person comes through, but for me, reading, it's going to be specific. It's going to be very. What's that noise?
You're cutting out a little bit there, Kathy.
Okay, that is so weird. Did you hear that noise? It sounded like somebody was coming into the house. Or into the
did.
I think my wife just either came into my room or left. I'm not sure which.
Oh.
That might have been.
Oh, okay.
I have a new web camera with a new microphone, so it might be a little sensitive. I don't know.
Okay.
So, but my wife did just open the door and shut it. So
Okay. I was like, wait, what is going on? What's going on?
Someone's coming to see you, Kathy.
Yeah. Ooh. No. What was I saying? I can't remember now. Like,
talking about phonies.
yeah.
Phonies.
So basically, it's like, I'll get something very specific for that particular person. So let's say somebody comes for a medium reading, it's going to be a very something. It could be a matter of, just as some examples that have happened in the past. I remember one lady, one of her aunts came through and she was talking about, like I said, what is a red rowboat on this particular beach? And I keep hearing this beach, and, I said, what does that have to do with anything? Because I might not know the exact person it is. I might not be, but it means something. And then as soon as it's acknowledged, then more information will come through. I had one lady whose daughter came through, and that was actually pretty wild because this daughter was a teenager. It was very sad. But when she came through, she was very clear on some of the things that she needed her mom to know. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. She talked about her stepbrother. She's talked about her baby sister. She talked about like her stepmother, not just her stepbrother, but and she was very specific. And all you are is the conduit. That's it. You're just the conduit. You're not, you're the one that's receiving the information, and you're like a microphone. I'm just sort of speaker. I'm just handing that information out, right? And that was wild, and it really did help him on. But none of these things I would have known about. But that's how it works, right? And so that's how, I mean, for medium readings. Now, if somebody says to you, and we've all dealt with this before, I'm sure, where the medium's like, they love you. They're thinking of you. They love you. And you're like, yeah, we didn't get along. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But, and it's like, if you could get that same information from the guy at the 7-Eleven behind the counter, yes, your loved one is thinking about you and loves you. Maybe
groundbreaking.
Yeah. Maybe that's somebody who you don't want to spend too much money with, right? Or
no, very surface. I mean, that's
very if it's very surface, I'll ask questions a lot when I'm doing a reading. Like what I mean is, like, if something, I'll say to the client, like, if this doesn't make sense to you, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say something, but if it doesn't make sense, we're moving on. We're going to move on fast, because when you open up to, you don't know
so
who's
just came
coming.
back in. Did you guys do that too?
Yeah.
I'm going to put some WD-40 on those hinges.
But you'll hear, yeah, anyway. I can't remember what I was going to say. Sorry.
No, I totally get that. If it's really surface, like, well, your loved ones who have passed on are watching you and they're protecting you, and you've had a loss recently. I know you have. And if they say, well, wasn't really that recent. Oh, no, it wasn't that recent. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, Trevor, you had other questions too, because and actually Cody asked a really great question. He wanted to know, is remote viewing the same as clairvoyance, or is that something different?
So remote viewing is actually very interesting. I did try this. I'm going to put this up there so people can see it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know the answer to that, because I do know that the average person, and when I say the average person, that doesn't mean that I'm above average by any means, or that a psychic or a clairvoyant or a medium, you know what I mean? But I'm talking like, if they're open to the remote viewing ability, anybody can do it, from what I've understood. And I remember that, as Cody was saying, the government did round up people and do a lot of remote viewing, and it's really interesting. So I did try it. I did watch a YouTube video, and I was like totally into it. And I thought, I'm gonna, I've never done this before. And it was really fascinating to do. And, yeah. Oh, Trevor.
We lost Trevor.
He went somewhere.
That's okay.
But yeah. Hi, Jamie. It's so good to see you. I love that she said that. Yeah, I'm so glad I was able to help. So yeah.
Well, see, that's good. We were talking about, the frauds and you, and you're not a fraud, so this is good.
There's Mr. Pete. He's coming on. I'm gonna add him. Mr. Pete.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yay.
Sorry, I totally lost track of time. I went shopping earlier and geez. Anyway, I'm a bit camera shy. Where's Trevor?
Well, we don't
Hmm.
know. He literally just disappeared. So I'm wondering if something happened, or I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cody says hi, so that's good.
Hello, Cody. Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. We missed you, Pete.
I know it's been a frantic few weeks, that's for sure. But
Yeah, yeah. That's okay. You're back. That's all that matters.
kind of for now.
Oh,
I'm on
he
the
just
couch.
said he'll be back as soon as he can.
Okay, good.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm wedged on the couch with Ollie, and Jax is down there as well. Keeping
oh,
Oh,
guard.
look at them. So great.
Yeah.
So
So,
great.
how is everyone?
Good.
good.
Sorry,
Good, yeah.
I broke the
My
momentum on the
daughter's
show.
dog's name is Ollie too.
Oh, it's funny.
Except she's a great big husky. A great
Oh
big
yeah, no, it's
husky.
definitely not like my Ollie then. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit different. No, we're doing good. We're doing good. Yeah, we're just our show today is on psychics and the different abilities and the different things. So, have anything to add?
Uh, psychics. I don't know if you guys have brushed on it yet or anything like that, but like my own personal opinion, and Kathy, I think I've told you this about a million times as well, that I think that 99.9% of them all have an agenda, and it's not to help people. They're either they're out there for self fame or to make money, that kind of thing. I question a lot of their authenticity and their, if they're actually true or not as well, just by past experience as well. But I don't want to put all my eggs into one basket because there are a few out there that are legitimate and they do have a gift. And if it does, I think in some occasions it does warrant particular occasions to actually charge people as well. But I think with um, it's a slippery slope because their words are carried in a way with certain people that it's God's gospel, and it could in fact go the other way if someone's actually full of crap and they say the wrong words, i.e., the one of the psychics in Vancouver who said that there was 40 dead bodies buried in their back garden. It's
Yeah, see that kind of stuff is just, it's like I like what Jamie says. I love Jamie. She's so sweet. She says Pete Kathy knew details that no one knew. So it's things like that. But yeah, I think that there's definitely the thing is that there's it takes practice, and I think that a lot of people don't realize that it's a skill that you have to hone like any other skill. It's not something that, I mean, yes, there are absolutely, I mean, if you've got the gift, chances are it's a natural gift, right? But if you don't understand how to understand the energy, there can be a lot of harm and damage done
Oh
to,
God, yes.
I
to somebody.
I guess that's more my point, and it's kind of like what we do as well as paranormal investigators as well, because we can go into a house and there might be you know environmental reasons why they can hear banging noises and they can hear groans during the night and stuff like that. But we can go in there and conjure our magic K2 meters and say, "There's a demon in here," and then before you know it, you strike the fear into people, and it's kind of like it's a two-way street, I guess, with psychics and both paranormal investigators, which there is a divide between the pair of us. But with what we do as well, you have to be careful what you say
You
and what
have to be very careful
and
about it.
like
Yeah.
like for example, if I was a psychic medium and stuff like that, and a woman come forward and said, I would like you to tell me about my son that passed away and stuff like that, I'm going to give you $500. Like the majority of the psychics out there, they're actually false and with false intentions and stuff like that. are just going to blow her full of gas. And it's things like that, because like what we do
That's
and
what we
what
were
they
just
do.
talking about. And it's about, I think a lot of it has to do, again, a lot of it has to do with the details, right?
It
And
is. It is, but there's no way of measuring what psychics do, and there's no way of measuring what we do, because it's
yeah,
still undefined.
Exactly.
It's like I guess in hindsight, it's like germs. It's like we know, germs has been around for thousands of years, but it only got discovered by science a few hundred years ago, and it's that kind of it's all brushed with the same kind of brush. The paint's kind of brushed in the same kind of way, kind of thing.
I think that, as like the thing when you are an intuitive, when you are a medium, you are going to run into other mediums and psychics and all of that stuff, right? And again, this is something that for myself, I've worked hard on. I've worked hard, like
Yep.
there's that time where you, or those time, I mean, you're always working on it. It's not like, oh, I just know everything. But it's a matter of, you receive the information, and it is one of the reasons I do ask questions, because it's a matter of like, what is this about? I'm seeing this. What does this have to do with? But in that same process, I'm learning something too. Because as a psychic or as a medium, we're always growing and we're always changing as well. And sometimes, there's been times where, oh my God, it's like you wake up and none of your abilities, they're gone. And you're like, oh my God, what just happened? But then you realize like a few days later, it's like you upgraded. You might wake up and it's like your body just needed a rest in order to upgrade. Like, it's like your computer shutting down. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, where is this energy coming from? And where is this? And then you've got to relearn something because of, that upgrade or whatever it was. It was like you leveled up in some way, and it could be just a little thing. But I remember one time we were on a investigation. Oh my God, I had never had this happen, and I was freaked right out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm standing there, and we're in this kitchen, and all of a sudden I heard this right beside me. Like it was literally right beside me, and I'm just like,
How did it go? How did it sound again?
it was just like, like this muffled, like I couldn't make out what it was.
Is that
Yeah,
it?
like that. And I was like, what the hell is that? Right? I'm like, oh my God. And everybody's looking at me, and I said, you guys didn't hear that? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then a few minutes later, but there was another psychic, another medium that we had on the team, and they were upstairs at the time when I was hearing all this, and all of a sudden they came downstairs and they said, what in the hell is that? Something is talking down here. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, because I kept hearing this talking. It was like right beside me, or like, like right here. And it was driving me nuts, because I thought, like, that, am I losing my hearing? Like, what the hell is going on? Am I hearing shit? Like, I had never had that happen before, where, you're hearing stuff, right? I mean, besides like EVP, that was a whole, this was audible, like right in my ear. So that to me was, what the hell? And I haven't had it happen very often, but I've had it happen enough where you're like, okay, that is interesting. So sometimes, well, like, with what happened with Trevor's wife walking into the room, that you're like, okay, am I the only one hearing that? Like sometimes you wonder, like, am I the only one hearing this? Okay, like, did everyone else hear this, or is it just me?
Interesting. I don't know. I think that, like, for us being paranormal investigators, when you first start out doing any kind of investigation, you're sometimes not really attuned to the frequencies and the energy that you're experiencing. But as you continue, you sort of hone those abilities. And I think a lot of people that are clairvoyant or clairaudient or whatever. It takes time, it takes energy. And I think everybody these days believes themselves to be empathic. Everybody thinks that they're an empath these days. And, that could be. I think we all have the ability to be empathic, but it just means honing in and tuning into other people's
Right.
energies, other people's frequencies. And that's okay. I don't think that's particularly a psychic ability. I think that it's a humanistic thing that, if you're at all kind of awakened to your own senses and your own instincts, you can tune in to other people's energies and understand if they're sad or they're depressed or they're happy or all of that. But I think with psychics and psychic mediums, they kind of have perhaps honed those abilities and they may be born with them. I do know a few that are very talented, that are, they can hear things, they can sense things far beyond what we can. But, truly they're few and far between. I mean, I'm with Pete.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are very, they're very good actors. They're very good at looking, they're very observant. Their listening skills are far superior than
Well, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of it is some NLP as well, neuro linguistic programming, and but that in itself is actually a skill, because not everybody has the ability for in such honed in NLP. Being able to watch, and seeing the little nuances within the eye or within, the movement or the way that the mouth works. And there are times where, which is why when I'm doing a reading, actually, it's funny, when I'm doing a reading, I prefer not to be able to look at the person because I do pick up on that stuff so fast. And so for me, I prefer not to be able to see the person because I want to be able to just get what is coming through with spirit, right? So I'll do it over the phone or, however, right? But I prefer not to do in-person readings just simply because of the fact that for me, I'm naturally going to pay attention to these other little things. And I have very, very, very good NLP skills in that sense. But that doesn't take away from my abilities. You see what I mean? But I think that my abilities have helped me hone in the NLP, or maybe it's vice versa. I'm not really sure, but it's almost like, when people say read the room, I've read the room. I've read the room and I see, and so, you're like, okay.
So what's in, over the last few years, like the word empath has become a bit more sensationalized on social media and stuff like that. And I think like there's two, like what I've seen, I think that there's two different interpretations of what an empath actually is. Like the first one is the person that can go in the room and read the room and, feeds off of people's emotions and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, that's what any sensitive human being can do. It's not them being empathic and not the common traits of that. It's you're sensitive and you're smart, and I think that's because life has taught you a lesson in relation to you walk into a room, straight away. It's because it's our sixth sense. You walk into a room and know straight away. If
You know when people have been fighting a lot of times. Like if you walk in and you can read that, okay, people have been fighting. Maybe people were talking about somebody. Maybe, a conversation was going on that I wasn't supposed to hear. Maybe, whatever is happening. Like you can usually pick up on that, right? And the thing is I feel like the word empath has been thrown around a lot simply because of the fact that maybe it is a term that people can use that you don't need to prove. You don't need to prove that you're
think it's that, Cathy. I think it's just, mate, because empathic isn't like There's a vast difference between being empathic and being psychic.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's no like I wouldn't go on a TV show and say I'm going to do a reading on the show because I'm empathic. It's just it's just a
No,
trait
you're
that-
going to say that it's because it's psychic, right?
yeah, exactly. So there's no gain to it by you know, proudly announcing that I'm empathic and stuff like that. Then there's the other side of the coin, like the empaths that try and please people, that try and you know, they're emotionally set on you know, they do all of the above. You know, they can read rooms and stuff like that, but they try and please people. They, you know, they draw energy off people as well. They, you know, they generally just hide away as a recluse as well, because they don't want to get sucked up into that energy and stuff like that. There's
Well,
a
it's
whole
kind
list
of
of
like
that traits.
kind of what Cody is saying here. He's asking, what exactly is psychic vampirism? He said, I've heard the term numerous times. It's like where people's energy gets drained by others. Is it a psychic thing? And yes, and I mean, there are psychic vampires, I guess. You know, but I think that they're more fewer and far between, honestly, because it does take a lot of energy to drain another person's energy on a psychic level. But what you can do is drain that person's energy through again a form of NLP, right? Because you know when somebody is depressed, let's just say. So what do you do when somebody's depressed? You start putting your energy towards them. What's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? So what's happening at that moment? You're losing your own energy. You're actually draining yourself and giving it to another person by trying to pump them up or plump them up or whatever. You know what I mean? So there is that, you know, vampirism, or there's those people that as soon as the attention is not on them, they create the drama, or they create the you know, oh, woe was me, I'm your, you know, type of behavior, right? So that what do? You are now giving them your energy. You're draining yourself in order to pump them up or to give them a boost in some way. So, you know, that, and it's funny because, again, you know, I don't know if this is a psychic energy or if it's more because of the fact that I'm very good at NLP. And that is, like, immediately, as soon as somebody is trying to pull some sympathy bullshit on me, it's like, boom, I gotcha right there. And it's like my energy all immediately, walls go up immediately. You know, it's like I think I mentioned this to you guys before. There's a difference between, you know, somebody who's like, you know, if you owe me some money and you come to me with like, oh, you know, my cat got run over and I have to do this and all my bills are due and blah. And they're waiting for you to say, oh, it's okay, you don't need to pay me back right now, right? They're waiting for you to do that. Or somebody just comes to you and says, hey, look, I got all of this crap going on. Can I pay you that money that I owe you, you know, in a few days from now, or whatever it is, like straight up, right? But the problem is that somebody who's, you know, I guess empathic, which is really all of us, but there are a lot of people that will fall for that sympathy type of behavior, that vampirism, right? That, oh, woe is me, and oh, I just, you know, and they're basically trying to pull that energy out of you in order for you to give them something, whether it's a, you know, an extension or sympathy or extra love or extra hugs or extra attention or whatever it is, right? And so I you know, I don't know if it's whatever it is, but I immediately see it, feel
So
it, and my walls go up.
Kathy, is that like when that wall automatically comes up? Is that you being psychic, or is that the fact that you're smart and
That's what I mean is I don't know.
Well,
Like,
that's what I mean. I mean, like
yeah.
we know a lot about each other and our
Yeah.
own personal lives and stuff like that. And you know, like human characteristics is we learn by our mistakes and stuff like that. And you know, I don't tolerate a lot of BS either because of what's gone on in my past as well. And I don't think that that's psychic. I think that's us being just smart or
It
learning
could
from
be
previous
just smart, or
experience.
it's also,
Losing patience with people as well. And
yeah.
I think that I think that has a lot of a factor to it as well, more than anything else.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, again, it's like the honing of that skill to some degree. Maybe you've been played a lot, or maybe you can pick out the nuances in somebody's voice, or you see the, again, when we talk about like NLP, neuro linguistic programming, um, it's something as small as a movement of the cheek, or the movement of an ear, or like the way that they turn their eyes, or whatever it is, and you can, boom, you got it, like you see it, and you're like, okay. It's like when people say, I can tell when somebody's lying immediately. Well, again, is it psychic, or is it because you're very good at
Reading
seeing,
people.
reading people, right? And I mean, there's, but here's the thing: it just because you do one doesn't mean you can't do the other. They can work in conjunction with each other.
No, I get that, but like, I guess in definition, it's there's a lot of people out there that can see through bullshit as well, and
Yes,
they don't claim to be psychic. It's just because
right.
they've
And
been there
that's
and done
exactly
that.
it.
They're like they've
Yeah.
been on the other end of that for the majority of their life, so they're wise to it now more than
Mhm.
anything else. And it's not being empathic. Again, it's being smart.
I agree with you. I think, you know what, honestly, if you're an empathic person, it means that emotionally you're able to access something within and you're able to understand people emotionally. So when you talk about, psychic vampires, you're right, Pete. It's not necessarily the psychic, but it is your psyche or how you're handling it emotionally, as well as your smarts in that situation. And Kathy, you're right. If you've got somebody in your life that every time you talk to them, it's drama or something's wrong, or they're going to pick on you for some reason, or you always have to have your guard up all the time because it's going to be some kind of an attack, or
Yeah.
ask you questions that are ridiculous, then that's pretty much a psychic vampire. That's somebody who's going to
Right.
drain.
But sometimes it's not every time, right? And sometimes it's not every time. Sometimes, you can just tell, he'll be great, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom, and you obviously, you see the differences in their behavior or whatever it is, right? But yeah, and
Yeah.
then you're just like, okay, we're not going to encourage this too much.
We just lost Pete. Now we
Yeah.
lost Pete,
we're,
Kathy.
we're losing all the boys. That's okay. Stay away. I don't care.
So, well, you know what though, Kathy? That was a great question about psychic vampirism because I think a lot of people
Absolutely.
do feel emotionally drained by the
Yeah.
energy of others. And
Mhm.
if you're a particularly sensitive person, sometimes if people around you are overly dramatic or they're
Mhm.
overly something, they're going to put a strain on your emotions to the
Yeah.
point where you just can't deal with that anymore. And nor should you, So
No, you shouldn't be dealing with it. And I think though that is also too where a lot of, people who are, I guess, psychic, they do get into that trap of those type of people because the a lot of times your goal is you want to help everybody, or you want to help people, or you want to be there for them, or maybe there's some ego, that's I've met people that it's about the ego, like being able to have the bragging rights of I helped this person. We all know those ones, right? Like,
yes.
and so they take the damaged and try to fix the damage in order to gain some sort of ego, whatever it is, from the damaged,
Yeah.
so um but I think though with when it comes to like going back into the whole topic of like psychics and mediums, and when we break it down, there's so many different abilities. I've met people that are, hey, like, holy shit, some of the, like, when we're talking about a medium, like, holy crap, they'll just bring up somebody from, like, I don't know, childhood, and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, holy, but, they can't find their way out of a paper bag, psychically, right? Like, and so, and then you've got those that are excellent at, knowing the present state of something, or maybe an event from the past, or they'll tell you something. My mom was very good with future events, I guess. Like, she, I would want to do something. I see this going bad, she would say, and but she would lay it out, and I see, I was right, and you're like,
Yeah.
of course, is it?
When you talk about mediums too, like,
Yeah.
and this is something that a lot of people don't understand as well. Sometimes mediums, like anybody else, can have an off day, because when you're,
100%.
when you're dealing with energies and you're in that kind of environment, you're dealing with frequencies, you're dealing with energies, and you're trying to be so like harmonious with them, get into that groove. Sometimes if you're not feeling well, or something is going on in your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, you're going to have an off day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and it's too bad Trevor's not here, because we did sort of do that. We did do an experiment at his house. Well, I mean, we weren't physically there, but we did do that experiment, where I, sort of took a virtual tour, I guess, within my mind of his home. And there were some things that I was able to be very precise on, and there were some things that I was a total fail on because of it. But it's the energy, right? It's the energy that's coming in, and it's how you're, and but it also can do, like, there can be different perceptions too.
Exactly.
I remember, because it was interesting, because he had that skull that underneath one of the windows, and I felt that so strongly. I didn't know what it was, but every time I went to that window, in my energy field, I felt whatever the freaking thing that was, because it was a dead thing. You know what I mean? But it wasn't talking to me or anything like that. I felt the energy of it. It's kind of like, it's like, it's sort of like wearing a sock on one foot. You know how you could feel the sock on one foot? Like, you're going to feel the difference. That's what it was like. So when you get to that window, it was like, oof, okay, I feel this, happening from this area. But I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew that there was something, like, and I remember asking him, what is under your window, Trevor? Like, it's like, I can feel it, and that's when it was, I can't remember, some sort of dead animal thing.
No, and you know what? Kudos to you for that, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, psychics and mediums and all of that, it's all about energy. I mean, everything we do is about energy.
It's all about energy, and it's learning about, but it's not. Now, here's the thing, like, for me as a child, like, now when I talk about being able to see dead people only recently, like the last 15 years, that does not mean that I didn't have other abilities that I honed on, because I remember, even in my teenagers, as a teenager, and in my early 20s, I couldn't understand why other people didn't know who was on the phone. Like, I heard the phone ring, I would know who's on the phone because I heard it in my head, and I couldn't understand why you wouldn't know who was on the phone. Like, how did you not hear that? Can't you hear the phone talking to you? So for me, that was very unusual, because I didn't understand why you're not hearing who's on the phone. Like, it's your mom. Hello, your mom's on the phone, and be like, how do you know? Are you stupid? Like, the phone told you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there was a lot of like little things like that that I had to learn that not everybody received or not everybody heard or all of that. And I remember you're gonna have to excuse me on this one, but I remember I was very high and I was about 16 years old and we had done, I don't know what, hash or something. It was smoking something. It was not nothing like, extreme, but it was like weed or hash or whatever. And we were on the bus and I remember having an amazing conversation with this man who was sitting in front of me. I could describe him even now to this day. He was a black man, really nice. Like he was sort of like hippie like, and him and I had the best conversation and and I remember my friends were like, "The hell are you talking to?" And I was like, you guys are being so rude. I thought they were being so rude. Like, how
I
could
love
you be
that.
rude to him?
That's funny.
But to me, because him and I, we were really having a good, but I found out later through friends, like much later, is they said to me, when you got up to leave a party, or if you were leaving a place, people followed you. They learned to follow you because if Kathy was leaving, shit was about to go down. So you
I love it.
So whether it was the cops or a fight or whatever, I mean, this was years ago, right? But and there was a lot of times where I would just get up and walk out, and
Right.
or I was going to go catch a cab or whatever I'm doing. I'm leaving the party. I'm done now. And it wasn't so much that I heard that the cops were going to show up or that there was going to, you know what I mean? It was like I just felt like I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. I gotta be other places. That's how I
Wow.
felt. It was like I was twitching in my body, like I gotta go. I gotta get out.
Wow.
And I would leave. And yeah, and then that's when I found out later is like, people were like, "Watch Kathy. If she's leaving, you go because
Right.
yeah,
It's
something
funny.
was about to go down." I'm just going to read what Cody.
Yeah.
I keep getting the thought it was comparable to demonic possession, where a medium's body, if not careful, can be flooded with all this energy, and they must know how to protect themselves. Absolutely, when they're doing their readings and other work, and to be able to harness the energy they pick up and not allow the energy just. Yeah. Okay. So that's a very good point. When I was talking, I was just telling you guys about how I channeled that little girl, and I did not have a whole lot of control
Mhm.
over what was coming through. I was literally just the vessel that, and she pretty much, I wouldn't say that she took over or possessed me or controlled my body or anything like that, but it's almost like I moved over and she came through.
Right.
And that's happened a few times. I remember there was a not that long ago. It was actually a reading that I had to do. I did out of town, so I drove out of town to do it. And this lady came through, and she had a lot to say. And again, I just sort of moved over and I let her take over. And I mean, she was angry, at her partner, I guess, because of like just some of his behavior, you know what I mean? And
Right.
how he was dealing with her death. She was like, it's time to grow up. Right. But
Right.
she just banged on that. And you feel yourself doing this.
But there's a difference between allowing yourself to get jumped by an energy,
Yeah.
and that person can take over, just exactly what Cody said, almost like a possession. I hate to say this, but a good medium will be able to protect themselves from that jumper kind of
Absolutely.
experience, because
Absolutely.
there's a fine boundary between, who you are and who this person is or who this entity is,
Yeah.
and not allow that entity to actually jump you.
Right. Because you're still there. You can stop it at any time,
Yes.
but you're just sort of, you're just moving a little bit to give them a leeway in, so that, because my words are not going to be their words.
Yes.
I can't, and in case you haven't noticed, I have ADHD too. So like my focus is like here, there, and everywhere, and like this. And so sometimes it's difficult for me. I've done that a lot with my guides too, is especially when we've done paranormal meetings, and I'm not able to give the information just simply because I'm out of focus. Like I'm not, my words are not coming out how I want them to come out, or I'm not able to alliterate what it is that I'm trying to get across. And I'll just sort of take a little bit of a step aside, and boom, and they'll come in. And it's interesting because this was back when we used to do a lot of we used to have a lot of paranormal meetings open to the public, and we had 50, 60 people at these meetings sometimes. And it was interesting because I would hear from people later that they could see like a purple light come around me when this was happening. And I'd be doing a lecture or whatever, somebody would ask me a question, and there would be times where maybe the question was so stupid or it was just something that I was unable to answer as a person. Like I wasn't able to give the answer that they were particularly looking for, whether or not it was just because I was tripping on my words or whatever. But I was able to just kind of, you're just sliding over a little bit. I'm not giving them full reign. I'm just giving them a little bit of, it's like sharing a couch.
Yes.
I'm just sharing the couch cushion with them. That's it. And letting them do what they need to do and say what it is that they need to say. And then when they're done, they exit.
Right. That makes sense. But another thing, and I know we don't even have too much time, but another thing that some people will say with regards to psychics is, I went to a psychic and she told me this was going to happen and it didn't happen. So that person is a bad psychic. But the issue also becomes when you go see a good psychic, you have to say that, and I believe this 100%, you have to say to people, and this too, the likelihood that this will happen, given the path that you're now on, is 100%, because you have free will. So knowing what you know now, you do have the will to change the outcome. And that's a lot of times psychics don't tell people that.
The thing is that it is about free will, right? And I mean, if you suggest, I mean, I don't even know how many, let's say, romantic or love readings that I've done with people where they're wanting to know, this, that, or the other thing. And I've said to them, look at, just as an example, I remember saying to one lady, do not contact this man.
Right.
He will contact you in 3 days. I felt that. I knew it was going to happen. I said, just leave it. Let him be. Let him be. And in fact, it was funny because I knew that he was out of town at the moment. I could feel that he was not in town. I could feel that he was like, there was something else on his mind, that he was doing something else. And it turned out he was out of town for a funeral. So it had nothing to do with her. But I knew this. And I said, just give him 3 days. He will come back. You know what I mean? Just let it be. Yeah. Okay. She says, yep. Okay. Goes out to her car and writes a fucking novel. And sends it to him, and then comes back and says, well, he didn't contact me in 3 days. Well, no, because you interrupted an important element that he was going through at that particular time. He didn't have time for your nonsense and bullshit because he was attending a funeral of a loved one out of town. And that's where his focus was. And so when you come at him with all of your nonsense, he was like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
And so right there, you changed the trajectory of that prediction.
Exactly.
Like, you know, I that has nothing to do with me, you know, nothing to do with me, right?
Yeah. I swear we could talk about this for at least, I don't
Forever,
know, 5
right?
hours.
Forever. Yeah, but thank you everybody for joining us. And, you know, maybe we'll come back to this topic another time and stuff. So truly appreciate you guys watching with us. We're looking forward to next week. We're not going to say anything quite yet. But we do have a special guest that's going to be joining us. And so make sure that you tune in next week. We are so looking forward to it. And take care, everybody. Have an amazing week. We'll see you soon.